Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today I thought we'd continue from the previous time and continue editing the photos and see how fast we can actually edit some of these photos. So if you need to look at some of the details, you can refer to my previous video, but for the most part, it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm just going to be blazing through these next 3 to 4 images and just see how fast we can get this thing knocked out. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. So this is where we ended off the last one. So all I want to do is, actually I'm not going to copy the settings, I'll just start fresh. So we'll go into editing, quick auto to auto generate some of this stuff. Let's see, look at the exposure, it's pretty good. Reduce the blacks a little bit, there's still a little bit of haze over everything, so we'll get rid of that pretty soon. For the most part, I don't want to remove the yellows just yet, but the blues I do want to get rid of. Increase the luminance a little bit, the purples, if there are any, aquas, greens, that kind of stuff. So the only thing I'm going to keep really is yellow and orange because that's my skin tone, and that's also part of this throttle body right here. I don't think there's really, there's a little bit of red, so I'll increase the red and then I'll remove it out of here next. Increase the texture ever so slightly, clarity, I think that's about good. There's the haze being removed, and I'm gonna add a little bit of a vignette so that we focus in again on this. And this is the overall theme now of the playlist that I'm creating. So increase the sharpening, decrease the noise a little bit. Also, as you can see, because I increased the red, this red started kind of bleeding all over the place right here. So we're gonna do this color noise reduction, which helps to smooth that out. But from there to there, it really doesn't do it anywhere else. All right, good. Move on to brush, down to saturation, get rid of that, and start getting rid of anything that I don't want saturated, including that stuff right there, anything on the walls over here, completely desaturate around me. Okay, so this is the first brush. Pretty good so far. Zoom in ever so slightly around the head. Get rid of all that red. That's for whatever reason there. By the way, these are not molds. This is some paint chips that I didn't realize I had, but it was all over the place. Oh, we can remove those as well, since we don't really need to have those there. So this is the healer brush tool, so let's just get rid of all that stuff. That's right there. Healer brush tool, pretty good for stuff like this. For the most part, I got everything out of the way. Let's go back to the second brush. Again, decrease the saturation this time. It's gonna remove but the 100% of everything that was left over. I'm just gonna go around here. I want to keep these yellows where they're at, but everything else, like all this little red that was left over, I want to get rid of that. It looks like there was a little bit of red left over right there and right there. I got rid of all that. Let's just go over it one more time. Scroll over my brush. As you can see, I pretty much went over everything. All right, now that that's done, one more brush. Decrease the exposure. Start painting away some of this stuff around here. Make it a little bit darker. Again, this is just going with the theme of what I've been doing so far. One more brush. Decrease the exposure. Get rid of a few of these spots, usually at the edges. I don't want to completely get rid of everything, but kind of looks interesting if I just get rid of some of the stuff. All right, next brush. I'm gonna decrease the exposure, not completely, just ever so slightly, and just go over some of these spots, some of these black pieces inside the engine bay, and just make them look a little bit shinier. And then last but not least, one more brush tool. This time I'll increase the exposure, and I'll go over some of this aluminum stuff. I do want some of these things to pop. It just gives it a nice little contrast inside here, so not everything is 100% dark. And I think that's pretty good right there. Alright. Then also, while I have this highlighted, Let's see. Let's increase the texture ever so slightly. Increase the clarity a little bit of dehaze, which also acts kind of like contrast. So we'll add that there. And then one more brush tool. And I'm just going to go over these yellow spots right here. Right there and there. And then what I'll do is actually increase my saturation so these yellows pop a little bit more. And maybe even this little red spot right there. I'll paint over that and over that one, just causing it to pop out a little bit more. There we go. That looks pretty interesting. And this one's done. Ready for YouTube. Copy, paste it on this one. Majority of the stuff is already done. I already like the way everything looks. Grab the brush tool, increase the size, get rid of the saturation on some of these parts. This is when we really start cooking. I also want to kind of get rid of this area right here. It's too open. So I'm going to be getting rid of all this saturation that I don't want. Going from there. Some of the saturation I do want. Like for example, right there, I think that adds a little bit of depth. But for the most part, I'm getting rid of saturation everywhere. Instead of just a few key places that I'm keeping it. Alright, that looks pretty good for the first pass. Let's do a second pass. Decrease the saturation again. Completely go down. Go over everything. We're good. I believe the vignette was already added, if I'm not mistaken. Take a look. Vignette's there. Can add it a little bit more. Next brush tool, we are going to want. Well, actually, I did not cover everything 100%. There's a little bit of color right there that I want to remove, and a little bit right there. Maybe even some right there that I just kind of missed. Just take a look, make sure I didn't really miss anything else. Did not. All right. And now we're going to reduce our exposure, start painting away some of these areas like that. And maybe down here. Oh, it's just too busy over here. I just want to get rid of all that. All I want to do is focus in on what I'm doing here at the engine. I also want to make this area inside here a little bit darker. That, again, we're just focusing on this area inside the engine. One more. Exposure all the way down. Start removing the majority of this stuff. I don't want to 100% remove it, but it's not bad either. Let's see. I'll keep this a little bit. You can see a little bit of the windshield. And a little bit of the toolbox back here. And then I'll just go over some of these spots with a new brush. Again, reduce the exposure. Inside here. Increase this. And just make it look a little bit more glossy, or newer black, not glossy black. There we go. Okay, paint inside here just a little bit more. And right there as well. Maybe right there. Light pop out a little bit. I think that's it. The X brush is actually increasing the exposure on some of these spots, like right there, this. Some of these metal aluminum spots. There, right there. The radiator. Or not the radiator, the condenser. If anybody's watching that knows car stuff. And I think for the most part we're good. Maybe even just go over myself a tad. Just increase my own exposure. And we're good. We're gonna add one more brush. This time we're just gonna wanna, again, increase the saturation of some of these areas that we did keep color in. And we'll go down to saturation, increase it, and then we can pop it up as much as we want, to be honest. Just paint it a little bit more so it pops out pretty nicely. There it is. And then increase the texture of these, clarity, and also dehaze them, just make it look a little bit more contrasty. And I'm done. Alright, so far we did 2. Let's do the next one. Copy, paste, initial settings, brush, saturation. Same exact thing over and over again. Actually, this one, as you can see, I clipped it and I didn't even cut it out yet. So what I'll do first is remove some of these words that were there before. And I'm gonna try to maximize as much screen space as possible. I think that's about good right there. Alright, so now that it's clipped, told you I have screenshots. Alright, now that we got that, paste it, and start editing. So I'm going to be repeating the same steps over and over again. So you guys just enjoy some music now while I do this. Satisfied with this one as well. So there's that one. And there's before and after. I guess I didn't show you the before and after of this one either. Before and after. And let's do Let's see, how many do we do? 1, 2, 3. Let's do one more. And then this one. And again, copy paste. And you guys go back to enjoying the music. that's it. We're done. You don't have to spend a ridiculous amount of time. I think I spent less than about 5 minutes per photo, but these are screenshots. These are pretty terrible pictures, so I'm trying to make some kind of theme out of them, and this is basically where I've gotten to. So let's look at the before and after. So there's the before, there's the after. There's a before, after on this one as well. Before and after, and before and after. So these are photos that now I can use on my YouTube channel as my thumbnails, and we did them pretty quickly. I mean, 4 photos in roughly 20 minutes, so about 5 minutes a photo. And considering I had a little introduction and everything, so less than 5 minutes a photo. I'm pretty satisfied with that. We have one more round that we're going to look at in this series, and then I'm going to be jumping over towards something else for you guys coming up next.